Welcome to the Ball is Wife podcast. My name is Andrea Hurley, wife of Dan Hurley, coach of the Yukon Huskies. I married into a basketball family over 25 years ago, and there's still a lot more to this game that I'm trying to figure out.
I'm Nicole Kellogg, wife of Derek Kellogg, head coach of the LIU Sharks in Brooklyn, New York. I've had a courtside view of college basketball for over 20 years, and I could talk about almost anything you want to know except X's and O's. So, hello, Andrea. It's been quite a week.
Yes, welcome to Ball is Wife podcast.
Welcome to Ball is Wife. We just finished talking to Roberta Jones Martin, wife of Coach Martin, head coach of Missouri. They've been there for 5 seasons, and she was awesome. What'd you think?
Oh, she was so much fun. And especially since she's been doing this for so many years. I mean, in basketball in general, like she met her husband at Purdue, and he was a player. Then he got drafted to the NBA. Then he played in Italy. Then he got diagnosed with cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I believe. And then he went into coaching, kept going, so basketball has been literally her life since mid 90s.
Oh yeah. And what a good perspective at it. She's so calm. We're I feel like you and I are having a week, you're having a tougher week than I am, but we're both kind of bending, and she's just kind of calm, take it all in stride and keep it in perspective.
And I think we mentioned when we were talking to her, you'll see that her husband had cancer. So it's when you have something like that come into your life, it's it's your job. You're not letting the job really, what's bigger in life, it's your health. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. So I think no job is going to rattle something after you've been through that. So, which is very important, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it is just a game, and there's much bigger things happening around us. So
yes, I think you're going to love it. We have another sister in our coaching sister world, and I couldn't be happier because this is what gets us through, is learning about other people's experiences and how they handle things. And
she was a great guest to have this week. Very soothing.
Yes. Awesome. So our next episode is coming up next. You're going to love it. So you're going to hear her journey through basketball, how she copes with a season, and a lot of stories that you're not going to want to miss.
Well, welcome, Roberta Jones Martin. She is the wife of Cuonzo Martin, currently the head coach of the University of Missouri. You've been there for 5 seasons. We appreciate you coming on today. You have a great background in college basketball and many years of experience as a head coach's wife. So we look forward to hearing, about your stories and your journey, and we'll let you talk and give us an update how things are going.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. So yes, you're right. We've been here for 5 seasons, and I'll go ahead and just give you guys a background of where we have been. So Cuonzo and I met back in college. So where he was playing.
At Arby's. I did my research. And little did you know that was the last day that you would ever not give a shit about basketball, right?
I know, my goodness. It's so funny. I mean, it is so funny to think about that Arby's isn't even there now, but
how cute is
anyway. It isn't even there, but 2 of our kids have gone to the same school, so they know the spot that we met at. So it's kind of, it is interesting. But yeah, so we met back at Purdue, and he played professionally for a while, and then he was diagnosed with cancer when we were in our early 20s. And after he completed his treatment, he played for a little bit longer, but then his college coach asked him, was he interested in getting in coaching? And he was like, sure, why not? And so that was the start of our journey. We spent 8 seasons at Purdue as assistants. He was an assistant at Purdue for 8 seasons before he got his first head coaching at Missouri State. We were there 3 years, and then we transitioned to the University of Tennessee, where we were there 3 years, and then we went to the University of California, Berkeley. We were there 3 years, and then finally here at Mizzou, and we've been here the past five seasons.
Wow. It's quite the journey. So
yeah,
just it's kind of funny. You and I are small, little quick background. You know, you were, I think you were heading up the NABC for Coaches' Wives when I first became a head coach, and that's how we met. And the last time I saw you, we played you in the NCAA tournament, which is, those are the cool connections about college basketball. And we've kind of remained connected over Facebook, and it's so lovely to have you on. Andrea and I earlier we were doing our research, and we came across a net website that you had started, which is so similar to what we're doing now, which is so interesting. Tell us about that. And
yeah, it was, gosh, I don't even know the year. Maybe it was like 2008. So probably right about the time we met. And it was my first time being a head coach's wife. And I had so many questions, like, you know, just everything from hosting to how I should interact with the other coaches' wives. Should I buy, what should I buy my wives for Christmas? That's what, just all the little things. And just the little things. And I didn't know other head coaches' wives to ask, other than the one that I just left at Purdue. And so I was like, gosh, there has to be a way to connect. And so I started, along with a friend of mine, Shanetta Webster, we started marriedtothegame.net, which was like a social media site for coaches' wives. And we basically emailed every coach in the nation and was like, ask your wife to join this.
Wow.
That's
amazing. Yeah. And anyway, so it was kind of neat. And then after a while, Facebook began to get its, popularity. And we just thought, well, there is a different media for wives to connect at. And we just let Married to the Game go and just sustain connections through Facebook.
Yep. Which has been pretty helpful. That's why I'm able to follow. And Shanetta, I believe I'm also friends with her on Facebook. But Andrea, I mean, we can talk about our idea with coming up with this podcast, similar to what you're saying, but also just kind of going through the stresses, that we all go through and we all share, and the sacrifices that we're all going through, but the blessings that we have with this profession as well.
Like when you go through this, especially one of my questions to you, because I ask every, like how you were questioning different things. It's like, I remember actually Nicole was at an Adidas trip, and Liz Larinaga, Miami, was sitting on a couch, and I looked at her and she looked so sweet. I went up to her, I said, can I just ask you a few questions? I said, what do you give your coaches for Christmas? What do you do? Like, I was asking her the most bizarre questions you ever, because it's questions that I needed to know, that I had nobody else to ask, because when you just jump into this business and you don't really have that many, like I said, Nicole and we were rivals. Like, I would never think to say, what's your phone number? Can I ask you a few questions? What do you do at this time? So this is why we're doing this, is because it's just like, what are you, everybody else? How does everybody else feel? And it's almost like when you lose, I feel like nobody else feels this. Like, I want to say, it is a pain. It's like a excruciating and gutted feeling. And I don't know why this year, I was telling Nicole, I don't know why, as the years are going on, I'm taking losses so much harder. I don't know why. I said, Nicole and I were just talking about, it's just such a crazy year. And it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody else, to say, it's okay. It's one of two things you could do. So it's so nice to have that outlet to talk to other coaches' wives too. I mean, big questions, little questions, just to have that, network of just like, it's a sisterhood. I keep saying it. This is why, and this is why we started this.
Yeah. We really want to try to bring more wives together to deal and cope with this. And, especially during COVID, these stresses have been magnified so much. And we're all in conference play right now, which is like, we're all, it doesn't matter which conference you're in. It's like, this is it. Right.
Yeah.
So how are you dealing with the stress right now? Like, give us some tips on.
It's, how am I dealing with the stress? I agree with Andrea that it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. If you're competitive, and I'm competitive, I like to say that I'm not, but I really am. When you're competitive, I hate to lose. I do hate to lose. But yeah, I don't know. How do I deal with it? I don't know that I have any magical way of dealing with it. I think I just, usually try to just debrief with my husband when he comes home and just see what he thinks about it. And then usually most of the time he can offer me logical explanations. Cause sometimes I'm just like, oh, the sky is falling. And he's just
I feel like we might be more upset sometimes than they are. That's not logical, but we feel like Andrea and I this morning, we both had kind of a rough week with LIU and UConn. And it just felt like a vent session, but it felt so good to be able to vent to somebody that understood what we were going through,
Yeah.
You mentioned your husband's diagnosis. And I think like I had a lot of wow moments when I was, going through your journey. It's like, your husband was a player, like professional player, European, like, and then he got his diagnosis, and then, he just kept going, he prevailed and kept going, and like went, coaching. It's like, that's high level stuff. It's like, it's a lot. And, I know, we all had someone, my dad was diagnosed, and I know stress was the number one thing that had to be, just you can't have stress in your life. I mean, it just, especially because of that. And it's impossible. I mean, it's impossible what you do. So is there anything that your husband or you do? I know you're grounded by faith. I've read that, and which is, that always helps everything. But is there anything else that you guys do in your day to like not make this? I mean, you realize what really matters to you when you get that diagnosis, and sometimes you don't want to say that, but it's like when you're faced with that and then you coach, I don't know, was it like, listen, we've been through this, and this is my job, and it's a game, and it's not the end of the world, because we know what's most important, and we've been through something like that. Is there something, is that how you view it? Or is there something that you guys do to just be like, this is my job, and it's not going to affect us mentally, physically?
Yeah. Certainly back at the time when he was first diagnosed. So that was 24 years ago for us. And so at that time, certainly it gave us the feeling of, we're just appreciative for every day that he walks this earth. And even today, every time he has a birthday, I think about, my goodness, I've spent 20, and our birthday is the same day. And so I've spent 24 more birthdays with him. And, so it's just kind of amazing. I'll tell you what keeps us grounded, and not so absorbed with the business, is our children.
Yeah.
And they're just at different places in their lives right now. And they're having, good wins in their life and struggles in their life, and just focusing on them and just realizing that the world is just really bigger than this game. The most important task that we have right now is raising these 3 children. So, and 2 of them aren't really children anymore, but they'll always be our children. So
that seems to be a common theme amongst every wife that we've interviewed thus far, is that it is just a game at the end of the day. And we are so much more than this. And there is so much more to this. And it's really about keeping it all in perspective. Right.
Yeah.
Riding the highs are amazing, but like when they're lows, trying not to get too low on this, and like trying to find a fine balance.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, I mean, I would say that that's true. And it's one of the, it's also a strategy that I use with my husband. If I feel like he's getting too like stressed out by things that are going on in his job, I'll, bring up a conversation about one of our kids, or maybe something that they're struggling with, or maybe something that's great that's happened with him. And it kind of makes him do a step back, and just a reminder that the world is bigger than the game. But honestly, it's really hard for our guys, right? Because their jobs are on national TV, all kinds of media outlets. Everyone has an opinion about how well or not well
Yes,
they're doing their job.
Everyone, even our own families, we've noticed.
Yes, I mean, it's true. When we go to family out, when we go to anything, that's what people want to talk about.
That's what they want. I know, it's, and you can't really blame them. They don't realize it, but I know. Andrea and I were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah, I'm just, for like, I keep mentioning, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like, okay, we're in year 4. Sometimes, like, my husband, like, I've never played a sport in my life. I've never competed for anything. It's not like I say this, I keep repeating myself every podcast, but I'm not a competitive person. This is so out of my element to feel like this. Like it's not, it doesn't feel good to me. Like, I don't like it. I don't like, I don't want to know that it's such a cruel world. And I don't like everybody, like, just, in my business, I don't like this, and I'm doing the best that I can at home, to not, but it's like, I feel like I'm in such a rut here. And it's like, I just, and not only that, our team's not doing bad. Like, we're still ranked. It's like, why am I feeling like this? This is not, it doesn't feel good. And like, I need help with this. Like, I keep saying, like, this is why I'm so glad we have this. Like, even as far as family is concerned, like, I get texts, like, after we lose a game, I want to crawl into my skin. It's like, how's Danny feeling? Like, is he okay? Like, I don't want to chop people's heads off. I don't want to, like, eat them up alive, but it's a little ping in my body that makes me crazy. It's like, it's like, our husbands' lives are public, and it's like, how about if I go to work with your husband and watch what he does every day and say, you failed today. Like, I don't go and ask you, like, how do you deal with, like, I don't know, I'm feeling a certain way this year, and everything's bothering me. How do you feel with people like those kind of texts, or after?
And there's 2 parts, and I'll try to remember to answer both parts of that. But the first part of people talking to me about the team, I know one thing that I have a golden rule around with the team, and especially in season, is I try to stay away from social media comments about the team. And so so there's 2 folds to this, right? So I can do it, but all of my friends and family are still looking at those things. So the other thing that I do is, I've told all my friends, family, and my fellow coaches' wives who are on staff with me, to say, hey, guess what, guys? I don't read the comments. I don't tell me do anything. So please don't say anything to me about what someone has said. Because right now I live in this peaceful, oblivious world.
Yes, I'm with you.
Please don't come and destroy my peaceful, oblivious world.
Right. It's called the mute. My husband calls it the mute button. He's like, the minute I see something, because the guys have to be on Twitter somewhat, but the minute I see that negative comment, I unfollow them. And you have to tune it out. It's so impossible sometimes, because we want to fight and we want to defend, but it's really hard. What about fans? We've asked this question a lot. Have you had a crazy fan experience where you just had to step up and fight back, or just, anything crazy? Because we feel like we deal with crazy fans.
Wait, and I'll answer your question in just a second. But another thing I wanted to say to Andrea, because she was saying, she feels so impacted by the season and the emotions with it. It's interesting because I was sitting in the last week and I was flipping through some old photos from previous places that we've been. And I told myself that, my goodness, I wish I could go back and have those experiences again so that I could enjoy them. Yes. Because I was so worked up about what was going on that day or what was coming the next day that I didn't even enjoy the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that we were in.
That's exactly right. It really is. And it's like you have to be careful what you wish for too. Yeah. It's like we were at Wagner and that place, I mean, those fans were so amazing. And it's like, I'm sensitive, like, and I'm not sensitive. I'm a Jersey girl. Like, I will fight you. I will rip your eyes out. I will rip your hair out. But I am sensitive inside. Like, when you go after my family and what we were, I mean, we've sacrificed so much for my kids, my family. My husband has put 110% into this to get where he is today. So it's like when you come to shit on him after everything that we've put into this, and he's still doing amazing. It's like, then we went from Wagner to Rhode Island, which was like a dream. And that place, it was like, it's a place where they were so grateful for wins because they never really, the school never really had championships, wins, whatever. So it was like, they were just so grateful. And when you build it, they came, and every step, I didn't realize I'm like I said, I'm not a sports person. We beat a team. We did something, confetti was flying from the ceiling. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I had no idea. Like, we won, I guess, the conference. I don't know. But it was just like, wait, what? And it was just like, wow. Then you be careful what you wish for. Because like, we're at UConn. Like, we got the job at UConn, which is my husband's dream job. Like, this is amazing. I'm not strong enough for here because they've won championships. The fans are brutal. It's like when you have your own fans yelling at you at halftime that you suck, your own fans in their gear. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, if you're not for us, you're against us. And then I go to Villanova and they're all in the crowd. Like, the whole place is filled to the tippy top. And, it's just different programs are run differently, of different fan bases. But it's just like, I wish that I sat there and like really took in the love that was just around, because it's just like when you're in different places, it's just different environments. And not to say I'm so blessed and grateful to be here, but it's a lot more than my little heart can handle, and it's just like, and it's my husband, and I have to just sit here and just, take the pressures, and it's not easy.
It's not easy. And I'll say something that is so much easier said than done, and I haven't mastered it. So I'm going to tell you something that I haven't mastered yet either. But if, as much as you can tune out that white noise of fans and opinions, try to embrace the moment. Because I can go back to the story of, when we were at Tennessee, and we went to the Sweet 16, and I wasn't happy in that moment because I was so stressed out about what fans were saying and what people were saying that I wasn't even enjoying the moment and the moment of what was happening.
And by the way, a Sweet 16, and every coach in D1 understands this. What that is, that actual accomplishment takes years of blood, sweat, and tears, and people just dismiss it like it never happened. I mean, I say it all the time. You guys beat us in the NCAA tournament. That Derek took a UMass team to the NCAA tournament. Prior to that, it was 2 NITs and an NIT Final Four. People don't even talk about it. Like, you never even existed. So I think, to your point, Andrea, too, that's where college basketball loses me, that, it's a thankless job. There's it's never good enough. A Sweet 16 is amazing. You didn't even enjoy it. Right.
Well, and that's why I said, like, now I'm trying to just step back, and we're not having a winning season this year, but I'm trying to step back and enjoy the moments, because I know that when I look back 20 years from now, I'll wish that I did.
Right.
And so just finding the moments just to say, like you said, Andrea, you guys are top 25 right now. Enjoy that moment.
Yeah. I say that to her too. I said it this morning. I'm like, you played Villanova on the road. The world should just love you for it, because you know,
like my husband said, it was like we were, I'm stressing, like dying. I was, and I can't show him. I was ready to throw up like the morning of the game. I never travel with the team. It's just my thing. My son's on the team. I don't want to hear, they torture him. He's a walk-on at UConn. And I know that the opposing team, it's what they do. I'm not strong enough to sit there, but I did go to the Villanova game because I know they're like classier people, which they really were. And I'm like, okay. My son's like, please, mom, don't make a big deal. I'm like, I'm good. I'm okay. So, and I felt really good about it. And so I went there, and it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's just a lot for me. It's just a lot. You lose on the road. And he says to me the morning of the game, we're in the hotel room, and he said, like, I'm dying. And he says to me, would you think, when we were at St. Benedict's Prep, coaching high school, would I ever get an opportunity to coach at Wells Fargo against Villanova in front of 20,000 people? And I'm like,
that's
it kind of
amazing.
snapped me out of it. And I'm like, you're right. I was literally just a few short years ago making baked ziti in the little dorm kitchen for the team in high school, and it's just like, you know what? You're so friggin' right. This is amazing.
It's a blessing. I mean, it is a blessing. And I remind myself all the time that there are probably 10,000 people that will trade places with us right now.
I just said that to her.
Yeah.
Right now. And so with that, I have to be grateful. I got to be grateful.
That's true.
Just where we are.
There's only 350 something D1 head jobs, right? Like it's so, the fact that we're even in it is incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, I am. And especially this year, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy this time.
Yes.
It's such a good message. I like it.
Yes. And you were part of the NABC, right? Were you, I still have the shirt. I said to Nicole, I didn't fit into it today, which is why I didn't wear it. But were you the one that sold the shirts, like living life 40 minutes at a time?
At a time? Yeah.
I still have it. It's a little snug.
Even today, you live your life 40 minutes at a time. So,
and I did wear it in my home gym like a few weeks ago, and I just looked at it because you put something on, and I'm like, I was in one of those ruts, and I was like, wow, isn't this the truth?
It is.
God.
Yeah.
And Roberta, you don't do anything with the NABC anymore, or is that still going? Like, I haven't seen anything with that.
No, so the NABC Wives, the NABC really had a duplicate program going where they had events at the Final Four. So that part is still going, but the NABC Wives dissolved. And really, when I was leading it, along with several other board members, I think it's when I came to Tennessee, and I opened a small business, and then it just became a competing priority. And I was just like, and so I focused on that small business, and the NABC Wives kind of just folded into the regular NABC. And I believe they still organize events for wives. I haven't been to the Final Four in a couple of years now.
Yeah, same. We haven't been going.
Yeah.
But you got a nice network of, you got to really, you were successful in getting these wives together. And it's just like, that's what we're trying to do. It's like, you just want to, you want to be friends with everybody, even if you play them, like, we could be friends 360, 2 days of the year.
Well, and I always say, I don't have any enemies. I don't have any rivals in this business. Yeah. I don't care if I'm playing against. Now, usually if I do know the wife, I might go to them before the game, because sometimes after the game is, a little hard, but I'll go to them before the game. I've even had very tough losses, like where we've lost against someone who I've known by a point. It was a stressful game, and I'll still text them after and say, good win.
Yeah.
Good win.
Yeah, and see, I love that. Andrea and I at UMass, we got to that point, we would split the conference games, and the last year we're like, you win one, I win one, and we're not going to watch either game, like.
Yeah, but the last game we actually, one of our last games, it was in Rhode Island. The second I saw her, I started crying, and then she started crying, and we're both crying. I mean, in front of our whole, like in front of all the fans, it was like we were both sobbing. Like, we hate this. Like, this is so not what we want to do. It's like,
really,
it sucks. Like, I hate this. Like, I don't want, like, I don't hate hurting people's feelings. And it's just like, I just want to be friends. Like, I just need your idea behind that, that group of wives. It's like, that's exactly what we need. Like, we can't wait to get to that. We're going to go to the Final Four this year. Like, I just cannot wait to meet and just to extend like friendships with so many people that I can text, call, like, like you said, Christmas, this, that, what do you do? Like, I don't know. I didn't come from that. Like, my husband went from high school right to a head coaching, a head coaching position, which doesn't really happen. So, I mean, he did work at Rutgers, but I was like 20 years old. I didn't really know what the head coach's wife was, and that was 100 years ago. So it's like, it's so good to have all of us.
It is. And hopefully this year, I don't know how the pandemic will play out, but hopefully a lot of wives will come, because in those years where I was going to the Final Four every year and I was doing an ABC Wives, I have a good network of wives and people who I still stay in contact with. Actually, a wife just texted me last week and was like, hey, do you guys want to go to Jamaica over Memorial Day? And I was like, I just love that. I love having the connection of wives, because it is a unique lifestyle. And
I just like me reaching out to you. I told Andrea, every week we're trying to get guests on, and we've had many lovely wives. And I was like, I have to ask Roberta. Like, I've kept in touch with you. I've followed your path, and thank you. I mean, it's so great. We're going to keep it going.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'll have to, I have not seen or listened to other podcasts that you guys have had. So I have to go back and listen and see what other wives had to say as well.
Yeah.
We're a work in progress. We definitely are. Like, I try to act like, like I'm Oprah, like I ask too much. My husband's like, you don't shut up. Like, I don't know how, we don't know how to do this. Like I said, we've told our story before, that we've just met up so many times at restaurants and for 4 or 5 hours at a clip. And we went through every emotion, and we're just, every time we would leave there, we have to start a podcast. What the hell's a podcast? Like, whatever. Like, we don't listen to podcasts, but we know we've heard about it. And I'm like, we just need help. Like, it's just the two of us. We do have other, of course, coaches wives, but it's just like, wouldn't it be so amazing to have so many people? Like, so we're working on it. We are definitely putting ourselves out there. It's getting better and better, but it's just like people like you. It's just like, we just appreciate you telling your story. You've had such a journey, and through basketball, whether you wanted to or not, you were thrown into this life, and it's a beautiful life. We say it all the time. I repeat myself all the time. Nicole repeats it. We're so grateful for this, but we also need our support group. So thank you so much.
We do. Go ahead, Roberta.
No, I was going to say, it's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Thank you.
So we don't have to wrap up, but I have one question we want to ask everyone. So many sacrifices in this business. We sacrifice many things. What is one thing as a head coach's wife that you will never sacrifice while you're in this business? I'm putting you on the spot now.
That's a tough one. The one thing I think I'll never sacrifice for this business, and I'm happy to say that Cuonzo is kind of the same, is our integrity.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'll do a lot. I'll spend a lot of hours at the gym. I'll do a lot of traveling. I'll stress out. I'll do everything, but I won't lose my integrity for this business. We'll quit before we do that.
Good for you. Good for you. Yes, absolutely. Oh my God. It's been such a pleasure. Oh my God. I loved looking you up, and I had so many wow moments because it's just, you've been through so many different places and it's not easy. I mean, we're humans, you know, you had to adjust to so many different positions as player's wife, coach's wife. And it's just like, it's a lot. And we were chameleons, you know, we do try to, you know, do the best that we can. And we always have to put on our like smiley faces and we're fine. And, you know, and even, you know, we didn't even get to it, but like you had a career before you know, and it's impossible. It's like nobody understands what goes into it. And, you know, I laugh at people who ask me, does my husband have a job in the summer? It's like, are you out of your mind? It's like, I can't even have a job because of my husband's job. So,
but we have jobs. We do have jobs. I mean, supporting them is a big job. I mean, and the team. There's so many things we could talk about. We could go on, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
If I had a job, like a real job, I would have to call out sick every day after a loss until we win again, because I would not mentally be able to function.
It's so funny. I mean, I have to it's true. I can understand where you're coming from about after a loss, because after a loss, I have to mentally tell myself, okay, I'm not going to break my routine. I'm going to keep doing the same things. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go, you know, because I know it's just hard.
See, we are all the same. I mean, forget it. And then 2 losses in a row, you're packing your boxes in your house.
Done already.
So, but anyway, I have really gotten to that point now that I was like, okay, I'm not breaking my routine. People at the gym are just going to see me and
So wait, that actually leads me to ask that question. When I was at UMass and the end was near, we knew it was coming, you know, Derek's last year before they fired him. I avoided the grocery store because I was like, I do not want to see one donor, one person, and it was awful. When I moved to New York City, I told one of my friends, I'm like, oh, I love going to Target because I just go and nobody knows who I am. I was like, so I guess that's a thing that you felt.
It's true. We have a similar thing as you, Nicole, when you moved to New York. When we were in California, no one cared that my husband was a head coach. And it was the most beautiful thing.
I mean, New Yorkers, they're all about the NBA and the major league. They don't care about you. They're like, we might as well be a high school team here.
They were,
it's, you know.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. Here at Missouri, I think their fans are pretty cool, like pretty level-headed. I mean, I think there are people with opinions, but there are people who are really positive as well. But we've been at schools that all they thought about was the last game that we played. And it's pretty stressful when you're in those. It's
probably just a small percentage of people that really, you know, like really ring your bell. But it's the thing is, it's like anything else. You can have 100 compliments. If one person shits on you, that's all you think about, you know? So it's like, I feel so bad saying it because it's like, we have so many more amazing fans than we do crappy ones. And it just, but unfortunately they you know, take over, and it's just, and that's what gets you down. And it's like, especially when, you know, like we didn't even talk about like being your team. It's like your team is your babies. You know, I don't know, like I've always, you know, Rhode Island especially, I was so close to those kids to a fault, and I loved it. I mean, those are our kids. The second they, you know, like I said, I say this every time my husband gets paid, you want to yell at him, you feel better about yourself. Like, I mean, it's the type of person you are, go right ahead. You know, you're only showing your ass, but don't do it to our children. You know, all those kids out there are doing that. They don't, trust me, they don't want to screw up. They're trying their hardest. They may be going through something. So that's where I come in, like the mama bear.
And you said your son's a walk-on as well?
Yes, my son is. Yes.
How is that? I'm sorry. And I know we can wrap up because if we need to wrap up this call, but I wonder how it
we can chat as long as we want.
So how is it? Because my son decided to go and be a walk-on for a friend coach of ours because I was worried about the dynamic of him being on the team.
I think that, okay. I probably get in trouble for saying this, but maybe they won't listen. Okay, my son,
No, they all listen. No worries.
yeah, he was a decent player in high school, decent. I mean, he wasn't, going to get any D1 scholarships or anything, but he definitely was decent. And then he hurt his foot. He twisted his little foot upside down and then forget about it. But then he could have played in college, D3, possibly D2, I don't know. And he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna, why would I pass up an experience to go to UConn? There was too many positives than negatives. And now that he's here and full blown in it, I was more worried about his relationship with the players because of my husband. My husband's very tough. I know he is. I know he's liked more after the kids leave. I just know that from experience. I don't think he's too liked while the season's going on. I mean, maybe, but I think he's definitely loved after the season when they realized what he was trying to do for them. So I know he's not warm and fuzzy most of the time. So I was worried about Andrew's relationship with the players and, would he be a snitch? Would he be this? So we just came off 2 losses, which has been excruciating. And my husband's asking my son for information about players and he will not budge. He will not.
Good for him.
He won't. And there was fireworks in my house last night because my son came home for dinner and my husband's yelling at him like you need to tell me. And I'm like, you're going to ruin your relationship with your son if you he's like, I called Andrew, I needed information, and Andrew will not budge. And he's just like,
Andrew.
Yeah, so he did not, but I know my husband did. He heard from another kid, there was a team meeting apparently, but he didn't hear that from Andrew. One of the other players told an assistant, oh, we had a team meeting. So during yesterday's, meeting, practice, my husband said, I heard you guys had, a little birdie, or I heard you guys had a team meeting. They all look at Andrew. Andrew's like, don't do that to me. It's like, I didn't say that. So there was a big fight in my kitchen last night. My son's like, I am not telling you anything unless I feel unless somebody's life is in jeopardy or they don't, other than that, you get nothing. So my husband's mad. Do you blame him? I don't blame my son.
No,
it was the exact thing that we were worried about with my son being a walk-on the team with my husband, is that I was worried about the impact it would have on the locker room.
Yes.
Or the impact it would have on my son having to battle between the two. So, so it's interesting because it sounds like your son is navigating it well. So that's good. Congratulations.
Even
on that.
Even in the locker room, he says after a bad practice, they all mutter coach sucks. He's a real dickhead. He's like, I chime in, yeah, he is, and that helps. I don't know, but yeah, I don't personally. I just pray to God that I have an older son who's into politics. He's nothing to do with sports. Thank you, God. I prayed for this day. And my youngest, I just pray that he doesn't want to be a coach. I don't think he does, but you just never know. He's a sophomore, so you just don't know how the pendulum's going to swing. But I pray that, he's going to do something in sports, but he could do anything but coaching. I pray that I can't do this forever,
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because my oldest is the same. He's completely not sports oriented. And I was like, great, he'll live just a normal life.
Normal.
And my second one, who is the walk-on, he's a walk-on at Purdue University. And he, at first I thought he was going to want to do something in sports, but I think he's kind of moving away from it. And I'm like, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. And it's tough because your husband was a player. I mean, we have boys. It's Nicole as well. She has a little guy. And it's the stress that they feel, the pressure that they feel when their dad and family come from basketball backgrounds. I mean, very successful basketball backgrounds. My oldest son had a very hard time with it. He was supposed to be, the next basketball, the way that the generations went, and he wasn't. And it's just I am so happy that he tore away from this and with pleasure, and he's off running. And my little one, it's he'll probably do something in the sport. He's looking at physical therapy and whatever else. I would welcome that. It's just that it's just, they see way too much, and hey, it gives them a great insight, and it's such an experience. It's amazing, but let's, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
He's 13. He's ready to like coach and play on Derek's team all the time.
Of course he is.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he's been all in from day one, and maybe that'll change. But yeah, and I said we didn't force him, but he claims we kind of did force him to play basketball, but that's not true.
So he's still playing, and does he do AAU?
He does AAU, and he loves it, and he's good. I mean, you know how it is. Got a long way to go. I hope the best for him, but yeah, he'll talk to Derek about the game, and he'll be like, Dad, I just got to ask you, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you put so-and-so in the game? And, so he's all in. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Good. I mean, good times, and best wishes to you just starting that AAU trail. My goodness. I think about all the travel that I did while my son was doing AAU. And again, it's one of those things, like while we were doing it, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to drive you where? Oh my goodness, I have to do this. And now that he's, in college, I'm like, those were such great times, because it was just time for us to be together.
And then you have to juggle. Do you go, you got to take your son, but then your husband's got a game. And, now my son's at the age where, but I want to go to Dad's game. And I'm like, but we have a commitment, it's a lot. And I only have one, so I navigate it. It's not so horrible.
Yeah. I have the luxury of now I'm down to one, right? So I was like, whoo. But our last one's a girl. And I didn't do this for my boys, but for my daughter, I do. If she has something and Cuonzo has something, I choose her.
Yes. Never compromised your children. That was my rule.
Yeah. I was like, I choose her. Like if she has a tournament, that's where we are that weekend. So it's just because, we only have really one shot, and it's like, we only have just a few more years before she doesn't need us anymore.
Right. So true.
So I try to choose her. So,
well, shall we wrap up?
Yes. Yep. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Roberta, you were awesome. This is so great to catch up. I mean, it's been quite a few years since I've seen you. I think we can all root for each other now. We can place a face with each team and continue this support group.
Yeah. So good luck the rest of the way.
Good luck. Best of health to everybody. And thank you so much. I mean, now you're like one of our sisters now, like our coaching sisters. Thank you.
Well, and I was going to say, and feel free, Nicole, to share my information with Andrea. If you ever want to ask, what did I buy my wives for Christmas? You can text me.
You're going to be so sorry you said that. You're going to be blocking me.
Sounds good. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Roberta. Best of luck.
Best of luck. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.